Oh, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening. We're back again. Welcome to the Hospitality Tech Show with myself, Michael Woodson, and my co-host, infamous traveling Susan. Where are you, Susan Gray? How are you?
Hey,
Well,
Michael, I'm
tonight
doing
we
great.
are blessed. We have really been blessed. Number one, Susan, she's in Greece,
I
and
am.
yes, you are. And tonight we're gonna have an excellent guest. And I'm gonna, you know, Ang Hatzopoulos. She's the co-founder and CEO of Peppermill. Tonight's topic, AI in the hospitality, is already here. How should owners position themselves to be successful long term? Want to welcome her to the stage, and she's with a company called Peppermill. And welcome.
Thank you. Thank you,
Welcome,
Michael,
Meg.
Sue, for having me. I'm excited to talk about this topic, which I could talk about all day. So thanks for having me.
Well, I just want to start off with a couple of things. We know that the transition, tonight's topic being, of course, AI and hospitality, traditionally a little slow to adopt in the hospitality industry. However, and they're still behind. However, this thing about AI is catch me if you can, because it's really taken off. So this is a hot topic, really, and I'm just happy to be here. So let me just tell everybody about who you are. She's the co-founder and CEO of Peppermill, an AI platform for the hospitality industry with 3 decades of experience in innovation, product strategy, and scaling high growth companies. She's known for building platforms that solve complex business challenges at scale. And certainly I can agree, for hospitality industry, this is timely. So before founding Peppermill AI, she created and led the direct to consumer division of a company called NetSpend, expanding financial access to over 10 million underbanked consumers, empowering major partnerships with PayPal, Western Union, BET, and Brinks. Previously, she was the founding member of Walmart.com, where she helped relaunch the company's online business in Silicon Valley and grew it to $1 billion channel. She also co-founded a company called Dama Financial, Little Grad, and held product leadership roles at Intel, Netscape, and uh, Chemdex. Based in San Francisco Bay Area, she continues to focus on building technology that drives meaningful real-world impact. So welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
All
Thank you
right.
so
So
That's quite a resume,
yeah,
much.
it is. It is. So before we
Impressive.
get started, let me just acknowledge, we're here, powered by, sponsored by the Workforce Montgomery Group, and also the Integrity Restaurant Group, and we want to also, with IBM, give them a thanks for sponsoring us for tonight's show and sponsoring the hospitality show. All right. So again, let's dive in here. All right. Statistically, as I have mentioned earlier, hospitality industry is behind. Right? But however, you have come up with a brilliant idea. So let's dive in and let's talk about it. Tell me about it. Tell me the history, where you've been, how you
Well,
got.
so Peppermill is a platform that is AI powered. But really, what it does is it connects disconnected data for businesses that are or verticals that are highly complex. Um, and when we think about really what we're doing, we are really helping the vertical to shift from looking behind them in a rearview mirror to looking forward but by shining the headlight forward with your data connected behind you so that you could utilize and springboard off of all of that value that's been built for decades by every organization, every brand, and so on, but really allows you to look forward and do something with it and create some incredible value. And
Mm,
I think about properties. I think, okay, so you have real estate and you have a building, but you also have data. And the thing that's going to increase the value of your asset faster than anything else, it's not the land, it's not the building, it is your data if you leverage it the right way.
So
So
let's pare that down just a little further, Ing. So you're talking about, like, I can take my RevPAR index data, I can take my accounting data, I can take my sales data out of my HubSpot, out of my Salesforce, I can take pare that down, like any kind of data, it can ingest anything, right?
Anything. It can take your utilities data. So your HVAC systems, if they have the
Your
data,
BI data. Yeah. BMS data.
any of it. So, and
Mhm.
the reality is that we're talking about a connected operation. A connected operation, it sits on top of really right now disconnected data that should be connected.
Right. So this brings it all together.
It
It
does.
becomes the
We're
glue
still
that-
operating in silos without Peppermill, right?
We are, and I think that the shift is going to happen, and it's happening now. And I remember even last year just listening to leaders in this space talking about AI and that it is a must do and a must have and so on. I feel like only now are we really getting to the point where it is truly getting implemented in a way that's somewhat meaningful, but that's going to accelerate. And it's going to accelerate because the pressure on margins is real. And this industry, with the interest rates where it is, and growth that is somewhat hard to find with interest rates the way they are, and so on, there's already a natural dynamic of margin compression, whether it be from the OTAs and all the other things that we talked about. But this is there's gonna be a lot of pressure to do things that are out of the ordinary for owners.
So in terms of rates, how does it deal with that versus the OTAs, et cetera?
I think there's always optimization that can be done, but people should be, I think that the areas, the big line items that would be kind of low hanging fruit. If I were to name three, labor is obviously one of them, a really important piece of that. Utilities is another one that I think is highly, generally overlooked, that if you have a modern utilities, HVAC system that really allows you to take the data out of there and look at kind of demand and all these other things, there's a lot of optimization that we can done there. But the other one that's bubbling up a lot is purchasing. So purchasing,
procurement tools.
Yes, procurement. Really taking a look at how you optimize that. And, I think generally speaking, people know that those are areas to look at, but having the tools, having the ability to do that very quickly and very intelligently, that comes with, our platforms like Peppermill, where you can leverage our platform to do all of those things.
Well, let's talk about in the restaurant business, down in that area, buying supplies and procuring food, but on a timely basis, and all your suppliers in there. Does it handle that as well in terms of so for example, let's take meat, for example.
Yeah.
You have to buy it, yes, in bulk, but you have to, how much do I really need based on demand to come.
Yeah. I think that the thing that you kind of generally start with maybe isn't that. You might actually start with optimizing your menu and really looking at minimizing waste to start with. And minimizing waste doesn't necessarily have to do with what you're buying. It maybe have to do with what you're selling to start with. Because if the demand isn't there, it doesn't matter when you buy it. It's going to go bad. So you have menu optimization tools that help with everything from getting rid of things off their menu, increasing prices in certain places, reducing, changing your recipe, to get more out of, the ingredients you have, so all those types of things I think are lower hanging fruit when it comes to food and beverage. And yes, there are tools for that in our platform. So the platform, and I don't want it to be all about that, because the reality is that there's so many ways that AI can be used all through, the hotel. But when you think about, I think some of the biggest barriers that hotels have, properties have for not getting more NOI and accelerating that, that margin growth, a lot of it has to do with time, right? There's a lack of time. Everybody's busy, especially that general manager. Then there's know-how in, if we're talking about optimizing your menu, sometimes some general managers know how to do it, some don't. And then the one is tools. They don't.
So your tool sort of empowers and levels the playing fields, right? So if you think about it, maybe you don't have to be an expert in every single area, because you're ingesting data, and that data is going to kick out opportunities for amplifying an area that might need to be amplified, or paying attention to an area that's doing really well that could be doing better. So in many ways, when you ingest all that data, doesn't it level the playing field for a GM?
It really does. And I also think it may not just level the playing field, which I absolutely, that's a great point, Sue. I actually think it will make them better, right? They're now going to be able to attack areas that were probably uncomfortable for a variety of different reasons to attack, expand margins there, be the hero in that area, and then keep moving through it. But this is a never ending thing, right? You can never get enough margin. You can never, and there's always changes coming your way. So, but you're absolutely right, Sue.
So like LLM models, right? Language learning models, they learn as they go. So help me understand, walk us through, Michael and I, through the ingesting of data. It's only as good as the data you put in, right? It's also learning as it goes, right? So can you kind of help us understand, the process and the flow?
Yeah. Okay. So two, just foundational things. LLMs today they never get smarter than the day they were trained. Okay. So let's just say the last model that you're using was trained on December 31st. It is not smarter than that day. Then the next version of it comes out and it was trained, let's just say on March 31st. It's likely smarter because it has more data points that it was trained on. So that one's generally better than the last one for a variety of reasons. So the LLM doesn't get smarter by the day. It gets smarter with new training for the next version.
So when do you issue? How does the next version become the master? So, for example, the LLM one, you trained it on December 31, and then that went on for a period of time. So at what point does that one, while you've aged out, there's a new kid on the block, they're going to be the master? That's
so you get to choose. So when there's a new version out, you get to choose whether or not you upgrade it or you don't. So, so we have over 200 LLMs that we sit on top of. We're trading them out all the time, partly because the providers of those LLMs don't support them anymore. In some cases, we find new ones that are even better, more, less expensive, better, more efficient, faster, whatever it is. So we get to choose that. And as a user, as an enterprise, as a user, as a platform, you get to choose that. So two other points, Sue, on your question. So foundationally, LLMs are as smart as the day they were trained. The second thing is your data, right? So how does your data fit into all of that? So there are a number of different things that you can do to make sure that your data is not part of the LLM training. We ensure that's the case for all data that goes through our platform. Most people don't know how to do that. And it is unfortunately, it's unfortunately something that is capitalized on by many of these other companies. And then the third one is like, how do we get smarter? So Peppermill gets smarter for you. Like, so as an organization, we pride ourselves on, look, if you have 20 properties, 100 properties that you're managing or owned and so on, all of the things that are going on within your 100 or 20 or whatever is data. That data is for you. We're helping you get better and your business get better. But hopefully that helps. There are many layers and a lot of complexities when it comes to AI and data itself. And I think it's important that, and people are continuing to get more kind of smart on it and more tuned into it, because it is actually a very, very hot topic, especially right now.
Yeah, for sure. And GMs, like you said, GMs and owners both have a lot of priorities. So, if you have a bunch of call-offs and you need rooms cleaned, you're going and cleaning rooms. That's just the way it is. Yeah. If you have a call-off at the front desk, you're checking people in. Right. So, while you're juggling all that, wouldn't it be nice to have Peppermill in the back, making the pepper? So that once the data is all ingested, you can actually see highlights of where you should be headed, giving you foresight, not reactive information. That's what I love about the model and about the implementation of it, because I think this could be very, very empowering, or is very empowering for a general manager as well as an owner. I mean, owners might be really, really great at real estate, and buying and mortgage and refinancing and all that. But do you think the owner is efficient and effective at understanding food and beverage costs? Maybe not. Maybe not even an asset manager. So I think, is it safe to say that your tool sort of empowers all those people to be at more of a level playing field and actually, and I'm going to take this one step further, because if you have all this data ingested and you have this foresight in front of you, isn't it so empowering that now you probably have a more ambitious general manager on your property?
I think so. I mean, I think that the whole idea that the job isn't overwhelming as it was before, because I think that that's very common right now, where you have general managers who are treading water and treading water with expectations that I think are going to continue to grow in terms of margin. And I think that this is a tool that really will help them achieve and exceed those expectations, which who doesn't love to do a great job? Everyone loves to do a great job. So yeah, no,
hospitality, right? It's
exactly,
hospitality.
exactly.
Well, doesn't this address leadership and development and training? Think about all, if you look at the whole human aspect of being in the hospitality industry, doesn't this also address learning, development, and training? I mean, you are accelerating the growth of supervisors, you're accelerating the growth of managers, you're accelerating the growth and depth of information and forward look for owners and operators alike. And I don't know, I just think it's a really super empowering tool. I wish I had it instead of doing a deep data dive, right? Michael, you and I did deep data dives by hand with Excel spreadsheets.
Right. So I'm going to call this the glue that keeps hospitality going at the hotels. I mean, this is, to bring all this data and have them, work together, all these data sets instead of silos, right? And really trying to it figures it out for you and adds some value and gives you some strategic suggestions as to how the way you should go and things you should prioritize versus, that nice to do. I'll get to it, but it really, this solution, you're right. Really, the general managers, this is their best friend for true orchestration of their operation.
Yeah,
that's exactly right, Michael.
Wow,
exactly right.
And powerful. So how did you come to this? Let's put this together. So
let's back up.
Peppermill, all right? Tell me, how did that come to be?
So we, I wish it was something like a fun story or funny story. It was actually very, very much our strategy team taking a look at a whole bunch of different verticals that we could attack. I will tell you, the thing that kept happening was hospitality kept popping to the top. Why? It's complex. Margins are shrinking. Data, there's so much data, decades and decades of data, and it's everywhere. It's everywhere. And it's also one where labor is a massive piece of it, and labor is complex in itself and a big part of the puzzle. But hospitality, in every way we looked at, okay, what do we attack first? Hospitality just rose to the top every single time. And I think it's just such an incredible industry where it's so people led, which isn't naturally where you would think AI could help. But it really is such a natural fit. I do feel like hospitality is a little slow to adopt technology. I think that's one of the things that we considered, which definitely kind of took away from why we should be entering this space. But I do think that we're at a point now that it would be difficult for the industry not to adopt AI and get really much more strategic about the data and how to get a lot more out of that asset for every property, every portfolio.
Interesting. One of the things is, we talk to students all the time around the country. And so, and students, this the goal is to bring students into the mix, and those who are thinking all the way down to high school, who are thinking about getting a hospitality or suggesting they do so because it's a
Yeah.
growing industry. What
Yep.
is some true sense of if the hospitality student that's sitting there who's a sophomore in college, what are the things you want to tell them they should do? Because this AI thing is taking off, right?
Yeah.
And, catch me if you can.
Yeah.
What's your suggestion?
I think that the students that are thinking about entering hospitality, the ones that are entering now and or kind of new to this world, are the ones that are going to shape actually
Mm.
the
Mhm.
direction and the pace in which this stuff can happen. They're so much more comfortable with AI. They grew up with it kind of just in their DNA versus I think, my generation as a kid. I was lucky to have studied it in college and then, have decades of time spent in tech, but it's nothing like what these kids and these new leaders are experiencing now. I get so excited for them as they come in thinking about how can tech and AI change this industry. They're not in the, I think that you can look at it in terms of different layers of, can it? No, they're thinking, how is it going to happen? How can I help with that? And the curiosity and the comfort with technology is just so exciting to have these kids really be what's going to be shaping this industry going forward. It's going to happen so fast with them really entering this workforce with the knowledge that they have.
So do you think
there's a
what
gap, though?
what kind of courses should they be taking?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, what kind of courses do you think any recommendations and things that they should be? I mean, it's not the traditional management course, but from a technology perspective, what
Yeah,
should they be focused on?
that's a hard one. There's so many AI courses today in terms of how to use AI that I think no matter what age you are, it's probably a good idea to take and understand. And I think as people are, no matter what level you're taking, it gives you exposure to what's possible. So there's no wrong answer there. But I will say that more and more in almost every curriculum that I see, and I have a college kid and two younger ones and actually an adult as well. And they're the opportunities that they've had to get really comfortable with AI, using it in a very practical way is so amazing. But I've been exposed to a lot of hospitality students in the shows that I've attended and so on, and they have just the most amazing ideas. They think out of the box. They're not hindered. They're not held back by, oh, it's always worked this way. It doesn't have to work that way, and it won't work that way in the future.
So do you think there's you've got this excited college kid getting ready to, jump into the industry, and they go to their hotel, and is there a gap? Excited to change, and people that might be in place or in positions that are like, no, we're not doing that. Keep your crazy out of here. I mean, I'm being real here. Is there
that's going to happen.
A gap, or is there a way to close that gap? What's the answer? Because you're right. We've got to let this generation come in and make some moves. How do we empower or drive engagement with to close the gap, and those that maybe want to continue to do things the same way, and then we've got this excited group that wants to come in and change the world, which is so exciting. Everybody wanted to. I wanted to when I came into the industry. I'm like, oh my gosh!
Here's how I think about it. I always think about these problems in a macro way. So kids are going to gravitate to organizations that will embrace them. And the kids that go to those organizations that embrace their creativity and their entrepreneurship and their a desire for innovation, they will flock there, and those organizations will get better, and they'll get better fast. The ones that don't will be stuck where they are, and their NOI will stay stagnant or creep up, or in some cases go the wrong way.
Yeah.
So I always think of it as, you get to choose. You
Mm.
get to choose. And the kids will go where they are loved and where they're appreciated. So it all is going to work out, but there are organizations that do want to embrace this, some faster than others, some not at all. That's okay. But that's a choice for an owner and for a board and for the leadership.
Now, and speaking of, for an owner, I mean, today that model, the franchise model, are they leading the pack, or are they slow to adopt?
I think that there are, news items and so on that are indicating that they're getting started. I think sometimes when you have large organizations, sometimes you have the mentality of there's more to lose. You got to be careful not to, give up your lead or whatever. Or you can take the other way, and you can look at it as I want to put a big gap in my lead, and I want to continue to lead. So it just depends on what the organizations are doing. But I will say I haven't seen a lot. I wish there was more. Because there's a lot of opportunities to collaborate and do more to accelerate. But I do think it ebbs and flows. There's things that are going on with privacy and things in the news. Sometimes makes it harder, but it is so mainstream in other verticals, more mainstream in other verticals, that I think that there's just pressure to get more done, and that'll continue to accelerate. But still a lot of room. So a lot of room.
But in terms of adoption, though,
Yes.
and then this is where that the franchise model versus the corporate-owned hotel.
Yeah, I think that so an owner and a management company and a GM, it doesn't have to be fully integrated with what the franchisors are doing. It doesn't have to. And I think there seems to be a lot more focus from the brands on the consumer facing side, the demand side, which is great. But there's AI that can be applied to every aspect of the business. And we talked about earlier, right? Labor to procurement to your HVAC systems to the list goes actually on and on. And most importantly, it's not ever one thing. Labor impacts your guest experience scores.
Right.
Labor impacts your credits that you're taking if your check-ins are late. Everything is intertwined, and that's what the beauty of AI, because it actually can take all of those connections into consideration, something that's very, very hard for a human to do.
Let me ask you this
They'll
about
take in your guest your medallion information, right? They'll take in all your
your reviews, your public reviews, your competitors' reviews, all of it.
Wow. And it brings it into it, so you're aware of that. And it goes out to the web and searches just like open. Wow.
Bring in all, look at all your competitors, ones you want to name or ones that are close to you. It'll do both.
And so that'll help you with rates, how they doing over here with customer relationships, customer loyalty levels, etc. Wow.
Yeah, not just the number, the actual comments. That's what matters, right? Because what they're really doing over there, like what you can glean from what your guests are saying about, or those guests are saying about their competitors, is so important.
Wow.
It's good.
Yep.
This is fascinating.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: what about from an operation? Let's go on the operation side of things. Even go deeper. IT, cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Is that included in the mix of this?
It is not in our scope. I don't think that right now for us, it shouldn't be, because our focus is so much around, what the operators, the GMs really can affect, and then what the management
optimizing the operation. Yeah.
What the management do to
what about
support.
things like security, for example? That's the comfort. That's a part of that. Do they measure that in some way into the mix of the data?
The security systems of your operations, or something, or security?
Security in general. One of the things that when you go to a place, do I have operations of a hotel? Yes, we have housekeeping, but we have the physical side.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Is that information brought in?
Any information that can be brought in can be set up and AI enabled to actually do analyses on. So that is certainly on the on the table.
Right.
So there's nothing that's really out of bounds. What I will say is our team generally we have found that the things that operators, owners, and management companies have really focused on are things that are kind of the big line items, if you will. Start with those. Labor, utilities are the two top ones that there's been a lot of focus on. And then, we'll continue to move through it.
But you can ingest everything, including an Excel spreadsheet.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Excel.
Model. So
yeah.
it's not data. My understanding is it's not data that comes from a certain place necessarily. It's whatever you want to ingest. So if you're currently doing some work with an Excel spreadsheet or a PowerPoint presentation, and you want that data ingested, it will take into consideration that data too. The one thing that you got to understand there is whatever you feed that LLM model, if that data is wrong, it's going to spit out.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Not so good stuff. So
yeah,
bad data in, bad data out. But that's what's accurate now. The problem is now we have these disparate systems, right? So, you got an engineer talking about just engineering stuff, and then you've got, director of ops talking about just the operation stuff. What this is doing is this is taking all the food and beverage and all the maintenance and all the medallion scores and all the RevPAR index scores and putting it all in one place. So everybody is actually looking at one thing together. They're learning from each other, right?
Yeah.
So the one thing that, so I'm going to pivot a little bit and we talk about ingesting data, and people get nervous about that. Is that public? Is that protected? Let's talk about data privacy.
Well, when we're talking about training LLMs earlier, you can guarantee that your data doesn't enter kind of the training bed, if you will. There are a number of ways to do that. Most people don't know how to do that, and therefore allow, OpenAI and Anthropic and Google to take in their data and use it for training, sadly. So this is where I actually think it's a massive detriment for the hospitality industry to not adopt AI in a formal way and give employees tools, because they are using them anyway.
Yeah, they are. So this is a guardrail then, Ying.
Yes,
You're saying this is a guardrail.
Yes.
As well.
All the surveys, all of the data, public data, tells all of us that if you think your employees aren't using AI, they are anyway.
Yeah, they are.
And they're using it to help themselves be better at their jobs, of course, right?
Yeah,
but what does that mean? It means that your data is your company property is going into these public domains.
And that's an issue.
It's a massive risk.
You're training their model too.
Right. And there are tools now that will help with that. There are a couple of applications that have come to help train your workforce what they shouldn't be putting in to an AI model.
Sure.
And flag them on that. I mean, there's the bad thing about it, and this is where the governance comes in. The governance of the thou shalt not, instead of the wild west, anything goes. Training your culture, the culture on this, on what it means and the risk that by doing so, this is what you're doing. And when they see that, they're able to change their mindset.
Yeah.
And so it has to happen up front, having good training and awareness on an ongoing basis for that knowledge, so they can get better at their job, be more ethically responsible of using artificial intelligence. You just can't say, here you go with it. That would be the worst thing. It's like giving the kid, here it is, here is that Ferrari, and here's the keys, and they didn't take driver's ed.
Well, but Michael, there's this general term called shadow AI.
Yes.
And what people do, employees, students, whoever, they're bringing their own device, and it's typically on their phone,
Yep.
on their own computers. So if an organization prohibits it, they will bring their own AI, their shadow AI, so that they can help themselves do a better job. So this is a risk. And yes, compliance training is definitely helpful, because I think that a lot of people do bring their own devices and so on, not knowing what the real risk is and not knowing that they're actually harming their organization.
Yeah.
But so compliance training is a really, really a must do and a must have. But it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. Still, there's 70% of surveyors say that they bring their own shadow AI to their jobs. And
That's a pretty big leakage number, right?
It's a huge leakage number. Huge.
And so that data leakage is an issue, but we have to go back to when we started using the Googles of the world, right? And let's go back to what the lessons from the banking industry, for example, like a teller can't bring their information, and because they worry about credit cards and social security numbers being put out into the wild.
Yeah.
We may have to do the same thing, and blocking that. Yes, everyone has a BYOD, bring your own device, and you don't know what's on it. ChatGPT, Claude, etc., and Copilot, and all these different AI engines. But at some point, we have to raise awareness, and I think that's the change agent there. Proactive awareness.
Yeah, I think there is an awareness thing, but I actually think the biggest issue is that you're not giving your employees the tools that they need. So if you gave them the tools that would really help them be so much better and more efficient at their jobs, they will use your tools. And if you give them ones that are really specific to, making them better at their jobs, do that.
100%.
Do that all day.
It's competitive, right? They're going to do what they need to do to get ahead.
Yeah.
So why not support them by empowering them with this tool and get it throughout the organization?
Yeah.
And other industries are doing that. They're developing their own private LLM based on the concept of a particular tool. I know another company just rolled out their Copilot version based on their LLM.
Yeah.
But one of the things coincides with that, and the smart thing in each case, they did do training. One thing they didn't do is what we call a risk assessment on AI. Impact, because you have to do it. And it's not one and done. It's a proactive AI risk regimen that you have to put in place. It's not like the audit, the annual audit that comes along, and our friends at the Final Four show up and do that audit. This is an ongoing need for controls, and the hotel industry is going to have to learn to do that, to be proactive and monitor that. Shadow AI is going to be something that's always going to be there, and there's really nothing you can do about it. However, if they use your network, that's a detection instead of their own personal data. So if they come into the Wi-Fi system, etc., you may be able to prevent it there. Right?
Yeah. But kids are really savvy.
Yeah, they are. They'll find a way around it.
Turn the Wi-Fi off. So no, there are ways of getting around it. And at the end of the day, what are they trying to do, right? They want to be better at their jobs. They want to be more efficient so they can go home.
Yep.
Give them the tools that they need to do that.
Oh, yeah.
The tools just look different now. They're digital tools, right?
Right, the digital tools, right. So let me ask you this. Let's go in another direction with this. And so let's fast forward 3 years from now. What do you think about that? Where do you think we will be in terms of artificial intelligence, the hotel of 3 years from now? What does that look like to you?
I think there will be broad adoption for AI tools, and in a lot of different ways, customer facing, operations, tools that help them with their operations, help them get smarter. I think that the days, and I say this to my team all the time, I think the days of dashboards is dead. Dashboards are static. They are rear view looking. Why do you need a dashboard that just gives you data and no conclusions? It doesn't tell you what your issues are, doesn't tell you how to fix it, and then doesn't give you tools to actually go fix it.
Well, and that's the how. You're right. They're static. They give you some KPIs, some KRIs, some KCIs, and you sit there like, okay, that's good, and it's a measurement. But no one says, how can I take that measurement and go from this percentage to this percentage?
Hmm.
And so this is where AI is going to suggest to you and make some recommendations to you.
That's
That is
right.
the modern GM model.
Yep.
And so do you see anything beyond, like, for example, in the food and beverage? I mean, really crucial to that, right? In the supply chain.
Yeah.
Right? How do you see that? Whether it be vendor management, third party risk management, all of that factor.
All of it. I think all of it. I also think that what will happen by 3 years from now, and if not sooner,
Mm.
we can let our agents loose into all your historical data, all of your insights, all your recommendations, how you used it, who's used it, and for it to find you the opportunities before you even get to ask the question. I think it is going to get to the point where it's so incredibly proactive that it will lead the way on how you can improve your business. That's what I think. At 3 years is a long way out. I think it'll happen before that.
So you're talking about having this tool potentially be training the general managers, the owners, the operators.
I think it'll be leading the
in
way.
some way.
It'll come up with ideas that GMs may not have thought of, partly because GMs can't go through hundreds of sheets of spreadsheets. GMs
Yep.
don't have the time to do that, nor do they have the capacity. Humans don't today. You can go through 100, 200 tabs of a spreadsheet, but by the time you get to the end, you forgot what was in the beginning. And tying it all together isn't something that we can naturally do, but an engine can. And so our agents will go and find ways to make your business better in ways that you've never even considered. And it will be up and down the chain. It will not just be limited per se to operations. Operations is connected to how the operations is managed, which is connected to how, the ownership and what the owners could potentially do. I think that there's so much opportunity here for us to let things unfold in front of us. And by the way, it doesn't mean that the AI is going to go do it for you. These are all things around, again, shining the flashlight, shining the headlamp. Let it show you opportunities. I think it's going to be really exciting, and the organizations that embrace getting really aggressive, and probably with a lot of young people in the organization pushing that forward, I think it'll be really exciting for them. And what we'll be looking at is some margin and NOI expansion that was not even contemplated. So, and then on top of that, I think there's going to be a lot of guest facing AI that will be amazing.
So the concierge, theater tickets, all it, tying it all together.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Zoo. You were going to say something. Go right
Yeah,
ahead.
no, one of the things that, I feel like from the younger manager listening to this, wow, you guys are way ahead of where I started with this tool and with LLM models, because all this information is going to come forward and put everything in one place and give you ideas right off the bat that previously you would have had to have 3 to 5 years experience understanding and learning the hard way and falling on your face. And it's not to say that you're not going to fall on your face anymore. What I'm saying is that you're like leaps and bounds ahead by using data as a proactive resource for your engagement and for your, it's just such an empowering tool that hasn't ever been available before. So if we're not seizing this opportunity as an industry, shame on us. And shame on people that want to stay doing whatever they want to do the old way. Shame on you. Move aside, because it is here and it's moving fast. And if you don't move aside and let these younger people come in and embrace it because they want to embrace it, you're doing a disservice to your organization, and you're doing a disservice to the younger people that want to be in this industry and shape it for the future.
Yeah. And I would say, Sue, you said earlier something about training and training those GMs. I think that is absolutely going to happen. So imagine where an opportunity gets uncovered, but you can also ask the engine, why is it, why that opportunity? And that's a great training opportunity, a learning opportunity for your GMs. So it isn't one way. It isn't like that this thing is just going to lead the way and you just got to follow it. You don't even have to take the recommendation, but you can look at what it's suggesting and ask why, and there's something to be learned from it.
So that's a really, really important point. And here's why I want to bring this up, because this is a conversation around critical thinking skills, right? So this is where the rubber meets the road. If you just do whatever it says to do, you could be doing the wrong thing. So to your point, Ang, questioning why, and then understanding and ascertaining whether that answer is something that is predictable, right? Is something that is, oh yeah, that does make sense. So this is the area where I would definitely say challenge as much as possible, because the more challenge that you give, the more learning opportunity you're getting by challenging, and then using your critical thinking skills to understand whether it's giving you the right answer or not for the direction you need to be taking your hotel.
Yeah.
But one of the things about the data, though, that answer that was right at one time could become not right later.
Yeah.
Because of the change of business conditions.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so as this LLM is learning, it may be able to give that information of, well, that was true. And because of this, this, and this, I recommend this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And by the way, it isn't going to be right all the time. There is such a thing as hallucinations. There's also philosophically, as an organization, you may not have the orientation to go in one direction versus other. Those are all things that you get to decide as owners, as GMs, as leaders. You get to do all of those things, but having these new ideas and connected data that gives you a real clue to where you can go and what that opportunity looks like, I think is incredible, and a gift that some operators, some owners will embrace and some won't. But that's, there's a lot of upside that comes with letting the machine help you, aid you, support you in getting your work done, getting it done faster, smarter,
and more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So what's on the roadmap for Peppermill? We talked about the next 3 years as an industry. Let's talk about what's on the roadmap for Peppermill. Where do you see, what's the vision for the next steps? Like, this is really empowering and engaging. I think this is awesome.
So in the short term, we have the chat with your data coming. So, the data is getting ready for AI all the time. So that's, a lot of the heavy lifting. So we're connecting the data behind the scenes but giving you the opportunity to ask questions and interact with it in a way that's, I think, really, really powerful. So in addition to insights and recommendations, and then the tools to affect those challenges, you have the ability to dig in. I love the pieces that are coming around the agents doing more kind of work on its own, reasoning through things and getting more depth in its insights. And again, the whys and the recommendations are as deep as the agent can go and run around and look for things. But I also think that there's not enough of a tie today when I look at the hospitality industry of owners to management companies and GMs and having alignment. And that alignment, I think, only comes as things become more visible and transparent.
Yeah.
Transparency can come very, it will be accelerated when you're all sitting on the exact same data. And, operators are making decisions based on the things that they're seeing. Management companies get to kind of streamline across based on, again, the same data that we're sitting on, a 360 view of connected data. And then the owners and asset managers get a view of really what the real risk of their portfolio is and what the upside opportunities are. And that translates into better investments, coming into the portfolio and, obviously ones that they sell as well. But I think that that alignment and transparency are things that I look forward to, because I don't think that that's necessarily there today in the natural world of hospitality.
Interesting. So still a lot to learn. Learn at
Yep.
the hotel level, learn the human. Now, speaking of that, let's talk about human in the loop. Whoa,
What was that? Sorry, say that again, Michael.
the human in the loop element,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
right? So in terms of all of this data analytics and automation, and as we get into agentic AI and as we get into agents, but what's your sentiment on that? The human in the loop of all of this. I mean, will it diminish? Will it change? It'll always be there, I assume. But what's your thoughts on it?
I think that it makes us, it elevates us.
Hmm.
How many things in a given day do you work on or have to work on? And,
Yeah.
and think about the general manager that you shouldn't be working on, but you should be doing these other things. What does it keep you up for? What does it help you? How does it help you get more from 5 minutes of your time, before AI versus after? I mean, just think about all these things that didn't make sense to do. And the perfect example of this is the GM report. It takes a normal GM somewhere between 8 hours and sometimes more, depending on how the complexity of their hotel and how, how much data they have available, 8 to 12 hours to generate a GM report that gets ready for the management company, that gets, transformed into an owner report eventually, and so on. Now that is done in minutes. Now you have a report that gives you insights about what happened in a 360 view, recommendations, instead of those 8 to 12 hours writing a report, which I'm sure was not that fun to write. Now you have the ability to go affect your business, go solve some of those problems.
Plus, think about the departments that you have to engage to get that report written, right?
Yes.
So you're taking away sales managers' time from selling to write a report. You're taking away the accountant's time managing the books to writing a report. You're taking away the general manager's time away from driving engagement with guests and employees to writing a report. So if you think about it, you're freeing them and empowering them to let the tool do the aggregated data work that is so cumbersome. It's freeing, right? It's empowering to be able to utilize that data that it gives you based upon the actions and ingestion that you've given it, right? So that you can focus on the priorities, which are taking care of your people, your guests, your employees, making more strategic decisions, rather than writing a report, right?
That's right. That's one example. That's one.
Yeah.
But but really it's a transfer of time that was not high value that can be now shifted to 8 to 12 hours of generating more value, more like interacting with your clients. I mean, your guests, optimizing the labor, staffing, recruiting, spending the time on the people that you're hiring to make sure they're the right hires. And just higher level activities that are more valuable. And I don't think
tangible. It's more that adds value to the business as a whole that wasn't there before. You're not able because the time was prohibiting that.
That's right.
So let me ask you this: what about the mentoring aspect of this? Because this is going to help free up that individual, the GM, to help and prepare the GMs of tomorrow.
Yes.
You agree?
Yes.
There's time now, right?
Yes.
Time is, something that, like you said, you're not doing the 8 to 10 hour reporting. So maybe you want to spend some more time with your people, your biggest assets.
That's right.
Inspiration. And how do you feel about that? That's something that's.
Well, you know what? I'm not a general manager. I love working with general managers. I think they're some of the hardest working people I've ever seen in any industry. I mean, I applaud them on a level. I mean, I just can't believe how much ground these people have to cover. And then they have to write these reports, and then they have to do all these other things. And I just think that giving them tools that give them the room to breathe reducing burnout, giving them time to train themselves, but train others. I think that is going to elevate the hospitality industry, just that alone. And, you think about all the different ways that we can apply this to every place, where the GMs, their leaders, the management companies, and what we could do there and have done there. And then the owners to get really a better sense of what's actually going on. Then they may be making more investments. They may be doing other things that like this beautiful, I think, virtuous cycle that is in play here. And, I just think people just have to engage.
But one of the dangers of this, if those that don't embrace this, we could see a digital divide, a professional divide in the space.
That is for sure going to happen. That is for sure going to happen. I can tell you that because I've spent so much time just really asking a lot of questions and talking to owners and all kinds of people in the chain. And there are people there's such a big spectrum of embracers and people who don't even run a P&L on a monthly basis. So if you don't do that, then you're probably not going to embrace AI with your data. That's okay. That's, get to it when you get to it. But the world's going to move.
And it's moving very rapidly. And it's when we look at AI, we've got about 4 minutes left. And so let's kind of wind it up. And, we've talked about a lot about we're a data-centric environment, data. As I stated, it was the glue that holds the data, the hotel operations together, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, great way.
And we know that the legacy information that this now comes together, it's going to help with even turnover of GMs.
For sure.
You can move them, you can kind of move them along, and the new GM would have at his fingertips that legacy information and help them to move forward. So a better pride in that.
Yes.
Is there anything that we haven't forgot about? I mean, that we haven't discussed or should leave our audience with?
I mean, if we're talking about, your audience is a bunch of really curious young people. I just am so excited for them. I'm so excited for them to come in and change this industry in such a positive way. And the enthusiasm and curiosity that they come with is incredible. Some of the ones that I've met, and I've met a lot of them. So I hope they continue on and push this thing forward, and they will go where they are embraced, and those organizations will thrive. So exciting to see.
I agree with you. Yeah.
And they'll be using Peppermill to do that.
Yes, I'm sure they will.
It has been fantastic having you. Thanks for blessing for this. And to our audience, we thank you. To my co-host, Sue Graves, thank you. From Greece, we thank you. All right.
You guys are wonderful. It's been so nice chatting with you guys.
Conversation.
Oh, I tell you what, I'm going to have to say this to you, and I say this to my guests. You got to come back. You have to come back here.
Yeah.
And really, we're going to be, stalking you and saying, and it's been a pleasure being with you as well.
Well, I'd be happy to come back. It was great to see you guys, and Sue, enjoy the rest of your trip, and
thank you.
Enjoy your pool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you to our sponsors. The Workforce Montgomery group there, the Integrity Restaurant Group, and IBM. Thank you as well. My name is Michael Woodson, together with my co-host and lovely guest, Hatzopoulos. We thank you, and let's keep this doing. Let's keep building the bridge between hospitality and technology. And again, Michael Woodson along with Sue Graves. And in the words of that famous guy, Walter Cronkite, for those that might date itself, I'm going to leave you with this. And that's the way it is.
I remember that. I don't want to date myself either, but I remember.
Right, there it is. Until next time, audience, be good. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thanks.
Thanks.